Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jennie Bellinger, Virginia Muzquiz, and Michelle Nedelec.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Bad Girls on Business podcast, the only podcast out there that is safe, sane, and consensual. We'll be as nice or naughty or kinky as our guest would like, and we'll even give them a safe word. It's meatloaf. Because these girls, well, we do anything for business, but we won't do that. I'm Virginia Muzquiz, the referral diva, one of your three hosts. I help Encore entrepreneurs turn their expertise into entrepreneurial success. And I'm joined by my co-host, Michelle Nedelec.
I am your mistress in business, helping you get it up and keep it up. And of course, we're talking about revenue and profit. And Miss Jennie Bellinger.
And I am Jennie Bellinger, your direct sales Domme, helping you whip your business into shape.
And the Bad Girls on Business are excited today because we are joined by Pat Henseler. He is the Director of Operations at Connect365, which is a platform that Jennie and I swear by. For the past decade, he has been helping small businesses and entrepreneurs create more effective lead generation campaigns to drive more reliable sales opportunities through content, social media, and email. Welcome to the show, Pat.
Thanks for having me. I really wish that I had a nice, snappy introduction for myself. All of you had like really funny things there. I should have prepped something. And next time I'm on, I'll make sure that I have something funny there.
I'm doing a workshop next.
Perfect. It's on this topic. Well, great.
Come on in. We're in St. Louis.
Send me your referral link to that. I'll sign up. I'll be right there.
It'll be great, she said. Yeah. So Pat, you work with Josh Turner. You've been working with him for about 10 years. How did you get started with, I know it was linked selling and now you've got Connect365. Josh has really been innovating in the space for a little bit and you've been by his side for most of it. So talk a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah. So I think, what's funny, I still give Josh trouble about this, but I think it was the fifth or sixth employee of Josh's at Linksell at the time. And the first time I interviewed, he actually turned me down for a job and hired someone that left a month later. So I still give him trouble when a month later he gave me a call back in and we met again. And, we're about 10 years later now since then. But when I first started working with Josh, I was brought on as an account manager. Basically in that agency was working directly with clients, managing different campaigns for them on LinkedIn primarily. But we did also at that time, a lot of Facebook ads. We did some YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, email marketing, all sorts of things. And really, I think I kind of staked my claim by being able to handle a number of these different areas and do it really well. And over the last 10 years or so, things have changed a lot, as can happen in small businesses. But really, how I got to where I am now is our agency was looking for ways to be more effective in what our account managers were doing. So we looked at some of the things we were doing that were more manual or time consuming and said, we should probably look into a way that we can make our people more effective. They can take on more clients, bring in more revenue, yada, yada, yada. And long story short, that was kind of the start of Connect365 is let's make a tool that our team can use, help them be more effective with their email and more effective with their time so that they're getting results for clients and not having to spend, 24 hours a day doing it. So that's kind of where we started. We've grown from there. We've added another software product under our umbrella called Emphatic, which the same reason it took a piece of the pie that an account manager was working on in our agency and simplified it, automated it. So Emphatic does social media automation. We have a team of contract writers who essentially will write a daily social media post for you. And then you're able to, in our software, set and schedule that post to go out on your chosen platform. So that's maybe a long way to get into it, but that's kind of how I got my start. And, it's a little bit of the ride that I've been on with Josh over the last decade.
Ooh, sorry. So I was trying to find that mute button really quickly. So Pat, with all of this, so it sounds like you guys started it as an inside tool and then went, oh, interesting. I wonder if this would work for other people? Or was it something where you guys had people find out that you were using it and went, I want that? Like, how did that translate from being an in-house tool to a product?
Yeah, so a little bit of both, I would say. Where it first stemmed from is the side where the agency, the price point of hiring that agency on a month-to-month basis just wasn't something in the budget for a lot of small businesses. And we just knew from getting responses to our outgoing emails, people who wanted it, but really couldn't afford having someone take everything over. So really then we started looking at how do we then flip this internal product and, see if it's got legs out there. It could be something that, other users, for the most part, smaller businesses could utilize at a price point that fit their budget and would be effective for them. So from there, just kind of the way things were at the time, we said, let's just do a little test launch of this, and brought on our first, I think the first time we did it, we had like small list we were pushing it to, but had like 100 customers, like almost overnight, and used kind of that time to continue building on the product to make it more effective for people that weren't internal and were external users. And, now we're like 5 or 6 years past that first little test, and, things have been growing really well. But yeah, certainly was first an internal thing that we always had an idea, maybe this will work for customers out there. And once we kind of had the quote unquote guinea pigs of ourselves as a client, we said, let's see if this will work for customers in a similar way.
Well, so one of the things I find that's very interesting about what you guys have done over the decade, because I met Josh in a coffee shop down in Lafayette Square. Jim Canada introduced us, and we had coffee because Jim said so. And we literally sat across from each other like, so what are you doing? And that was right when he was bringing out linked selling, and I was just coming on as a coach, and we talked about doing some stuff. And I was actually one of his early JV partners. It's the highest JV commission I've ever earned. And I won a podcasting microphone before I even knew what podcasts were. So, but that was then, right? And it became kind of a full service agency where you got LinkedIn leads and then you sent those off to people. And then you made this sort of transition into now you're a software company, which is, you've gone from a service based, which you still have, to having sort of the software industry. And you've done a really nice job, I think, of mixing service with software. So your platform really is a very strong SaaS platform. Can you talk a little bit about how you put together the service part of the platform? Because the platform is sexy, it's great. And before we answer that, maybe you want to kind of talk a little bit about Connect365 versus other platforms so that people understand there's a big difference between what it can do and what it cannot do, and what it will do and what it will not do. So talk about that, and then talk about the service part.
Certainly can get into all of that. So I think I'm actually going to hit the service part first. I think it's interesting. It kind of ties to like our background and experience was manually doing this type of work. And we learned a lot of what was most effective and what wasn't. And from being users of a variety of different softwares out there, I'm sure probably all of your listeners can attest to, there's a lot of times you hear about some great software product and it's like, oh, this sounds incredible. And then you get it and you start using, you're like, oh, there was like 15 other things I needed in place before I even started using this. And like, I can't really fully unlock what this tool or software is. So because of our background, running an agency, we also, in our agency, would have a couple different like info product training courses, things like that. We knew we had a lot of experience with the type of marketing that we did there. And we knew we had people on our team who we could put together essentially really good training to get people to unlock the power of a tool more effectively. So we kind of build in training, sometimes people are out there selling courses for $2,000, $10,000, $20,000, whatever. There's nothing against that. I've been part of a number of different courses out there that I've gotten a lot of value out of, and, I would gladly pay again. But we didn't want to separate the two. We wanted to kind of work them in together and say, like, we know the people that go through this material will get the best value out of the tool that we offer as well. So it's kind of always been a part of what we've done. And so our tool, just to answer that question then, is it's a very, most email tools out there that people know of are, big CRMs, things like whether it's MailChimp, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, all these things. They're great tools. They have a great product that can send out very, very high volumes of emails. Now, there's some downsides you get with that, which is to send out that many emails, it's going to go out through the HubSpot server, the Keep Infusionsoft server. And the emails also just look a little bit less personal. And I think that is one of the reasons why most people over the last decade or so have seen email open rates decline, is that, people kind of like know a marketing email when they get a marketing email. So our tool really kind of takes the idea of like, what if a manual email you would send out through your Google Workspace or Gmail account could go out, but to a larger group of people at once. So, if you're reaching out to new connections on LinkedIn and you wanted to send out a message to, 150 new connections there, this is the way that you should go about it. It's the way that we always did. It's the way that we've used both LinkedIn in tandem with email. So having a really more personal email that gets better deliverability, gets to the primary inbox and looks like a person wrote it rather than you talking to, a million people at once. That's kind of the driving force behind what we did. And like I mentioned, we used to do that all manually for clients where we would log in, someone would literally be like copying and pasting an email just because we knew it was going to be more effective to send it this way. But yeah, that's kind of the big like differentiator, I would say, on our tool versus, a lot of when people hear like email automation tool, their mind goes to the MailChimps, the big, huge CRMs for big, massive lists.
And I have to say, because Virginia, of course, introduced me to the tool, and I immediately, once I saw what it was doing and how it was working, jumped in, and I've been using it in my business now, I think for 2.5, 3 years now. And what I love about it, because for me, I am so like inherently opposed to marketing emails. Like I hate receiving them. Like that's the bane of my business existence is other people marketing to me through my email. I hate it. And so for me, I loved the fact that this is all relationship based. I'm not trying to send 10,000 emails to 10,000 random people, but these are people that I really want to actually really and truly connect with, but don't have the time to sit there and write the same email 17 times a day, and so it really is truly for me about the connection. And have you seen your other clients getting that same kind of, do they have that same like mindset and alignment that for them it's about the connection rather than the marketing?
Yeah. So we get that all the time, actually. And I think part of that is like, it's a lot of, to, Virginia's point earlier about some of the service or some of the training. Like we try to focus on it that way too, because the truth is it ends up usually being more effective. If you go into your, I know you used it as like a dirty word there, like marketing or sales outreach or sales development's a big term with this type of thing. If you go into it a mindset of like, I'm going to sell this thing, people write their emails, write their messaging in a way that usually ends up getting crickets back. So, a big part of what we try to do is teach our users and provide them templates. I'm like, if you have that mindset going into it of like, I'm trying to make a connection, I'm trying to build a relationship. The funny thing is it usually ends up resulting in more sales opportunities because people oftentimes are more responsive to that. There's studies out there. I'm probably going to quote the wrong thing, so I'm not going to say the title, but there's studies out there where people are like, would rather go to the dentist and have their tooth drilled on than being sold to. Like people have a fear of being sold to, which is funny because we all experience it in our day-to-day life, like whether we're at Walgreens or, wherever, but people hate that idea. So a lot of our clients end up coming to us, I think, because they have a similar mindset of that you had, which is like, I feel icky, like selling, but I know I need to do something to have more opportunities and connections. So I would say it's certainly, kind of a similar mindset and similarities with a lot of our clients. And even beyond that, I'd say, our most successful clients, usually the ones who really buy into that and like it's at their core rather than the ones who are like overly trying to like get to their sales pitch like right away without like any sort of warm up.
Love it.
So yeah, Jenny's like, Michelle, Virginia. So the big difference, because I do use Infusionsoft. Thanks. Michelle got me kind of hooked on that. One of the things that I do, which I think is interesting that I like about the platform is, when I'm working with, for example, JV partners, and I want to just nurture those JV partners, and I want them like, hey, I'm just checking in. How you doing? Hey, it's Cinco de Mayo. Here's my guacamole recipe, right? I kind of want that to look like it actually was like I care. But I have 200 JV partners. So again, copy, paste. I can hire a VA to do it, or I can just do it through the system, which I really like. The other thing that's interesting about that platform is I saw the other day, I was in there, and you've got some pretty heavy hitters that have done their own template series. So talk a little bit about the templating piece, because that's really helpful to the entry level entrepreneur. Like my folks that are like, what CRM should I use? I'm like, you don't need a CRM if you have 50 contacts. Like you need an email tool, not a CRM. And you don't need a whole lot of automation, but you need some automation. And then they get stuck with, well, I don't even know what to write. And I'm like, well, the solution here is
exactly. Yeah. So, like I was talking about earlier, when you get into a tool that is great, but you're like, there's like a number of steps and things that I really need. As you three know, being entrepreneurs, like it turns into where you're like, I didn't even know I had to wear this hat, but it's one of the hats I have to wear. And copywriting is a big one, where we knew we had a long history of like what worked based on our experience in our agency. And we said, why not reduce the extra hurdle that a client of ours or a customer of our software might have by giving them the templates that we would essentially always start with a client. And we've also had, as you mentioned, a number of our partners have written their own, Eben Pagan, Danny Inney, Suzanne Evans, because they were saying, this is exactly what we do. And you guys are free to share this with your audience, because if they're trying to book a speaking stage, they might get something on the Suzanne Evans outreach template or whatever it might be. So, we knew it was a hurdle for entrepreneurs who are busy, small business owners, even small marketing teams, where we said, hey, if we can give them a higher leg up and give them templates from our experience or our partners' experience that have been successful, it can really help put some of this all into context and make them more successful.
All right. So when you are helping people kind of onboarding, I just really want to talk more about the training piece. I know Josh has authored a number of books, which are really good, and they really do talk about this power of connection. So talk a little bit about the support and the support side of working in it, because it's more than just like, I don't know, how do I make a tag? How do I do a campaign? It's more than that. The training is a bit more robust.
Yeah. So again, a lot of this comes from lived in experience. And we know, as most people out there probably do, LinkedIn's a great place for networking. It's a great place for sales development, connections, on and on. And, one of the things that we include is training on how to improve both your profile on LinkedIn, but then how to actually go out there and bring in new connections, new people you can contact, and work through a full system like this. And again, it comes from a place of like, we know it's another hurdle where a customer might come in and say like, hey, I fully understand this, but I have 3 people on my list. Or even if it's 50, and we know that if we can give them a process and system and tool that we know works because we've done it, that they can then use and turn around and show them all the kind of like ways to make it more efficient, it's only going to help empower them and make them more successful, which hopefully then means they're going to keep using our tool. So it's kind of the ethical bet we make, which is let's give them the information rather than charging them extra for that information as like a separate thing. And then knowing the people that follow through and that are going to be more successful with it. Aside from that, we certainly, with regards, I had mentioned Emphatic, which is a part of a lot of our packages. That's a place where our team actually writes the social media posts for our clients. We send it to them for their review, of course. We're not just like posting whatever we want and they're out of the equation. But, that's something that, again, we knew like, let's try and take this off, someone's task list that they then got to say like, I know social media is great, but what am I going to write every day? What's this going to be about? Or I hate writing. It's another thing a lot of our customers will come into us and say. So that's another piece. And then, as you'd imagine, we've run, I don't even know the exact number off the top of my head. We run probably around 6 or 7 different live group calls every single week that are on a number of different topics for different segments of our customers, but always a spot where you can get onto, a fairly small Zoom call to ask questions or get kind of expert advice on, hey, maybe you're in a case, Virginia, you mentioned Keep. We use Keep as our CRM as well. Another big play that a lot of our customers would use if they have a bigger list is they might say, hey, I'm sending everyone to a webinar, and maybe in that webinar, I make an offer of some sort. They might then use Connect365 to reach out to the attended list, like the people that attended this but didn't buy, with a more personal type of approach to say, hey, we've been promoting this webinar through this big list broadcast type tool. Now let me have a more personal outreach to say, hey, I noticed, maybe it comes from Josh, maybe it comes from me if I'm hosting the webinar. And, hey, I noticed you were on the webinar last Tuesday, and you weren't looking to purchase. Anything I could help answer for you, or just something that's a more personal type of outreach and connection to engage them. So it might have been a long way to answer your question on it, but hopefully it kind of answers what you were looking for there.
So Pat, I know I'm more familiar with Connect365 as the LinkedIn kind of hub that can draw information in. You can find people, you can email them, you're doing all sorts of fun things. So does the email outreach aspect integrate with that pre-existing platform, I'm going to call it, or is it a completely different platform? How does that work?
So they run separately, and there are tools out there that will automate actions in LinkedIn that'll send connection requests automatically. I can tell you from my experience of even back doing this work manually with emails, but I would be very cautious and hesitant to someone. I don't recommend to any of our customers to use a LinkedIn automation tool that works on top of LinkedIn. I've seen too many situations over the years from people that do that have their LinkedIn accounts put in what people often call LinkedIn jail. So it works separately on that front. We use LinkedIn often as a place to find and build connections and then take those people and move them into Connect365 as their email outreach. For the social media posting side, that's something LinkedIn approves us for. They approve people for API access to post automatically to their own LinkedIn account. So that part is directly in LinkedIn, but I wanted to at least make that clarification for you there.
Aren't those all aspects of LinkedIn 365?
So
I could be totally confused, but
yeah. So Connect365,
sorry about that.
Connect365, the tool will do email, sending out those personal emails I was talking about.
Yep.
Emphatic, which is a part of our system, does social media posts. Mm-hmm. But if you're sending out connection requests, or if you're trying to send messages directly through LinkedIn, those two items I would not recommend getting an automation tool for, because it's against LinkedIn service terms.
No, I was talking about your lead management and your social media automation, your sales follow-up through Connect365 and LinkedIn.
Yeah. So I might be missing the question here, but we are, Connect365, the tool will be email only. Oh. Now, people use LinkedIn as a place to find connections, build connections. If they don't have a list of prospects, if they don't have a list of any sorts, they'll use it as a place to go out there, connect with people who might work for the types of businesses they work for, the right types of individuals, and then follow up with those people over email through our tool or with their social media posting, because they would be connected.
So, Pat, to be clear then, it's not that Connect365, you don't put in an audience and it goes out to LinkedIn and grabs all the information off of that and then starts emailing people. Correct. You have to actually go out, which would be,
that would be bad.
Yeah, that would be bad, because it used to be doable, right? But then LinkedIn was like, oh my God, no, because it started people started complaining, and you started getting subscriptions to Aweber that you never asked for. And it started getting ugly. So they changed their privacy policy to disallow automatic culling or artificial intelligence, pulling that stuff. However, inside LinkedIn, there's you can go find you can do a search. You don't need Sales Navigator to do it, just to get started. And then contact information is there, and people sometimes share their information. Sometimes they don't. But for those that do, you can grab that email, put it in Connect365, and then launch a campaign with that.
Exactly. And that's a lot of like our training will be on like how to do that process of searching and reaching out to the right types of people to connect to them on LinkedIn. I still these days, like, I think it's worth sending a connection request first with it. It gives you another touch point with the people you're talking to, where I'd prefer that over a fully cold email. The other big benefit, if you do connect with them, is they will be seeing your posts on LinkedIn. So, again, just another spot to get more name recognition out there for you, more awareness with those types of individuals.
Yeah. And so now I'm just going to do, because it's always all about me and getting my questions answered. So since you're here, let's just say on Tuesday, you go and you get 10 email addresses and you load them up. You have to make a tag for them, whatever. Can you like reuse a tag? Like in Infusionsoft, in Keep, I can add someone to a campaign. I decide which sequence they're going to get, and they get the sequence because they have the tag. I don't have to worry about everybody who has that tag getting all those emails all over again. But I'm not savvy in Connect365, so I wasn't even sure if that functionality is there, where I can tag somebody as Bad Girls on Business guest and like start a campaign with them, but not send it to everybody.
Definitely. So yeah, we look at campaign. We have two types of campaigns. One would be a scheduled campaign, which is just a broadcast. You say this specific day and time, everyone in this list or everyone with this tag is going to get this message. Our other type of campaign, we call it a sequential. And that's exactly what you're talking about there, where you can say, I have this series of 3, 4, 5, 30 emails, and I'm just going to set the delay between each of these messages. Whenever a new person is given that tag, start them at the top of it and work them all the way through the rest of that funnel or messaging sequence.
Okay, so that's a little more sophisticated than I remember. So that's new. Yay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. It's the one that is most commonly the type that I recommend. It's because a lot of our clients will say, hey, let me get in place one template or one messaging system sequence. And I just know I'm going to maybe I have one for networking events. And every time I meet people at networking events, I want to work them through the same sequence and just add them, tag them in, and let it work its way through. So certainly the route I most often recommend. It's the most time efficient.
So I've been using both of those types in my business for, I think, as long as the sequential has been around, when I figured out that what it was and how it worked. Because I was just used to, I want everyone on that tag to get the same message, same day, same time. So I got the scheduled thing. And that makes sense.
Shiny.
Yeah.
We don't care how many tires it has or how to turn it on. Oh, shiny.
Yeah. But the sequential thing has also been really fascinating too. So you talk about how with the sequential, people can go through and have a sequence of emails that will go out to people as they get added in with that tag. Once somebody has gone through an entire set of that sequence, so say, you have a welcome sequence, introduction/welcome, where you're introducing yourself, and just building that rapport, requesting coffee with them, or a virtual coffee or whatever. Once they work through that, is there an automation that can then move someone from tag 1 to tag 2 for sequence number 2, which is the nurture,
Yeah, certainly. So we call them in our system advanced actions. Essentially, it's a trigger of some sort happens and then an action happens. So the trigger could be, in a case like yours, if a specific email is sent and you can choose the last email in that sequence. When this email is sent to a contact, add this other tag to that person, and then it can move them into another sequence.
That is so hot. I didn't know it did that.
Yeah.
And you can do the other types of triggers people might use is, if an email is replied to, they might set up an action to remove a tag from that content, to take them out of the campaign or put them in a different campaign. So there's a few different things you could do there.
This is so awesome.
Be really clear, to be really, really clear, this is, again, Michelle and her firm are Keep specialists, right? And that's really where, if you're out there trying to do the online marketing thing and you're doing launches and JV stuff and you landing pages, all that, at some point, Connect365 is going to kind of run out of functionality on two formats, because we have to be clear about this one. The advantage of Connect365 is it interfaces with your Gmail account. Mm-hmm. The not so sexy thing about Connect365 is it interfaces with your Gmail account. So you've got those restrictions about how many emails you can send. And even the way Google tells you, like, you can have 10,000 emails a day. No, you can't, because it restricts how many internal versus how many external. So if you have 10 people working in your company, you could have 10,000 emails a day going around in your company in the business plan, but only 2,000 of them could be external. So at some point, like, you outgrow the real functionality of that. And it really is super ideal for, at the beginning, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, for just that, from my perspective, it's my startup entrepreneurs who look at, $299 a month and go, right? Mm-hmm. But when they can get for, $167 a month, they can get this email thing that kind of gets them warmed up in the idea of a campaign. It's like the tricycle of all of it, but they don't have that many people, so they don't have to buy 10,000 names. Like, it's more cost effective. But once they get the bug, I'm just letting you know, Pat, once they get the bug, Michelle is your person. She's your upstream, right? Because once they say to you, I need more, they're the early stage entrepreneur's entry to, here's how you do this other thing. And then you can grow with them from there. So I just, you who are listening, to know that this is like the perfect JV slope, more than, it's not competition, it's a JV slope. And then at some point, when you get that big, but you want to nurture small segments of your list, but they're not going to open because they're also getting all of your promotional emails, you can bump down to that Connect365 and get that deliverability, which I think is really cool. But you do have to watch that whole Google limit thing.
Yeah, so it's not a mass email list so that you have a huge list. I don't recommend saying I'm sending out my newsletter to 20,000 people. You don't just want to pop that over. It's not apples to apples. Where we see people that do have bigger lists usually incorporate is one of two spots. One is to outbound prospects. So strictly for people maybe that they're connected with on LinkedIn that they're trying to follow up with, they'll drop them and that's the people they're messaging with their email. The second would be for what you were talking about at the end there, which is, let me take a segment of maybe my full list and try and approach them in a different way. I gave the example earlier of we oftentimes will follow up with engaged, or for us, oftentimes attended a webinar. We'll view those as engaged, follow up with them with a more personal message from the host of that, or a sales individual on our team, or whoever that might be. Another one that, to a little bit earlier, is one of our partners, Suzanne Evans, does a lot with speaking and teaching people how to get speaking gigs and make a speaking business. They do a couple events throughout the year of their own. One of the big ways that they utilize it is they say, hey, when we get within a month of this event taking place, a big way they drive more sales in that last month is they will take a list of people who are within driving distance of that area. So they might have their big list in Keep, or I don't remember if they use ActiveCampaign, wherever. And they'll say, give me everyone who lives within, 5, whatever the states are, 5-hour driving distance from where their event is. And they'll have a more personal outreach from a coach on their team talking about the event and trying to get them into a conversation. So there's a lot of ways like that where people will use the two in tandem. Again, we're an example of that ourselves is, we do a lot with webinars, and we like to use it as a way to have a little bit warmer follow-up with some of the people that have engaged.
Well, and that totally makes sense. So I'm sitting back listening, going, hey, this is all new to me. I'm totally intrigued. Don't get my silence wrong. I'm just kind of figuring out who goes what, where. And because I am seeing it as a huge asset for being able to take those nurture campaigns. So say you have, 100 people at a webinar, and say 25 of them stay to the end. It totally makes sense to have a one-on-one call and connection with those 25 as opposed to the 100, because there's clearly more in there if you want.
More knowledge.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So, and like with Keep, my confusion was, well, you can send an email to the people who join and went, hey, I saw that you stayed to the end. This is awesome. But to your point, it's a different, once you get the nuances of Connect365 and how it makes those personal, not only where it's coming from, the deliverability of all the tech crap that nobody cares about. It's just like, I just want to send an email to these people. It totally makes sense that you can do that. And if you have a team of follow-up people, that they can then have those individual calls with them, which Keep can do, but it's usually a high-end thing that the bigger companies are setting up. It's not your, somebody that has 100 people at a webinar going in and trying to figure out how to connect with them. So yeah, I'm totally getting the gist of it, and it's intriguing to me. So don't take my silence as anything else other than intrigue.
Love the conversation, but I wasn't sure that she knew what you did. And really, something that's important to me in being the person who brings the guests on the show is to serve Jennie and Michelle, right? Like, oh, you don't know these people. This could be very good for you. So Michelle, this is my gift to you, because I do think there's a JV opportunity that flows both ways here. But I also just want to give like the metaphor for this. I think using something like Keep, like Active Campaign, like Aweber, right? That's like buying stage time. You stand on the stage in front of 2,500 people. You do your 45 minutes and then you say, get up, go to the back of the room, right? And buy my stuff. Connect365 is like, awesome. You bought my stuff, or you kind of want to buy my stuff. Go over to the room over there and join me for lunch, right? It's that in terms of how the emails function. I think there's a little bit of that. Oh, you bought my stuff. Go over there. Join me in the VIP room. We're going to have a meeting for lunch so that we can cement that relationship, because you just put your $500 down. And I really don't want you to, the word in Spanish, like renege. I don't want you to cancel, right? So I'm going to take you to lunch so that you stay. And I think they both have a really cool interaction in a really cool place. And I know Jennie and I have really, really appreciated the effort and the work that y'all have put in over there to make it easy for really newbies, like super newbies, to figure out how to use it, and provided the training. And then as I'm growing, I know it's been very beneficial for me to get better response rates for some things that I need an answer now. And, if it's coming in as with unsubscribe on it, it's going somewhere else. So, and it's really cool. But Michelle does have some questions for you, Pat. So,
actually, before we get into the questions, should we find out how people that are interested get a hold of them?
Yeah, well, probably the best way is just to go to our site, which is just Connect, CONNECT, 365.io. And, there's a spot in there you can request an invite to get really started on either Connect365 or Emphatic, or a combination of the two of them. And that'd really be where I recommend to go check out and get some more information. You'll also see some stuff there. We oftentimes, as I've mentioned, do a lot of webinars. So you'll probably see some sort of pop-up or something with my face or Josh's face or someone else's asking you to join us on a webinar sometime.
Hey, that's awesome. What a great way to connect.
Mm-hmm. And LinkedIn, right? Like, connect on LinkedIn, because that is where they're living. They are living on LinkedIn. So
100%. You can find me, anyone else on our team, really on LinkedIn. We're there all the time, and happy to answer any questions anyone has that's in your audience.
Beautiful. So, Pat, don't take these questions wrong, but you probably will. So if you need clarification, Virginia will help you on that one. When it comes to marketing, and I'll use this from a business perspective because that might make more sense, would Connect365 prefer domination or seduction as a marketing?
Oh, seduction, certainly. Yeah. It's a romantic at heart.
I love it. When it comes to networking, are you guys exhibitionists or voyeurs?
Exhibitionists.
Love it. And when it comes to leadership, would you say you have gentleman Domme or power sub?
Leadership in our full company?
Hmm?
Oh man, there's gonna be some people that are gonna think this is funny no matter how I answer it.
What your leadership style?
Give me the options.
Yeah, sure.
Give me the options again.
What's your leadership style? Gentleman Domme or power sub?
This feels weird to say it, but power, the sub. Sure.
Good.
When it comes to bringing, did you want to interrupt?
I did, because I want to say, I know that feels weird to say, but what it really means is that when it comes to leadership, the people that are surrounding you, that are trying to get stuff done, you give them their opinion. You let them lead. That's really,
that's how I tried to answer it too. But yeah, it's just
I know it's kind of an awkward question.
The AP option is funny, but yeah, no, that's exactly.
Let others
exactly
you let others take the lead and guide them, and so
try to
Love it. When it comes to the team at Connect365, would you say they prefer to be married or have mistresses? And we're not talking about the marriage. We're talking about how they hire their team. So are they employees?
Do you guys hire, or do you guys use outsourcing?
Yeah, I'd say married.
He was almost looking at me like, are you trying to out my people?
No. The reason I had a little bit of hesitation, because it's actually one of the things that I'm most proud of in our company is we have extremely, extremely low turnover. Like in the last 4 years, I think we lost one person, and that was because they essentially had a dream job in a fully different type of industry. The reason I was a little hesitant, we also do work with a lot of contractors on our social media writing side. So that side maybe is a little bit more mistressy, but all told together as a team, I would say married.
Love it. That's awesome. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, would you say, is this for a Josh thing or is this for you? Take it either way you want.
Yeah.
Prefer monogamy or polyamory?
I would say monogamy, because the spot where maybe we had polyamory was back in the days where LinkSelling, which is still around, still an agency. We are separate entities now. So for a while we were working together, and we split into separate entities a couple of years ago because got to a spot where it's difficult to market different businesses to somewhat different audiences in a way. And so, yeah, I'd say we're monogamous now.
I love that. Well, and that would contribute to my little bit of confusion there in the middle of this interview. I thought, I thought you guys were doing this thing. Awesome. Glad you clarified that through our disturbing questions.
Our disturbing questions. There were naughty questions, right? So, Michelle, I do congratulate you on turning those naughty questions into nice questions. So that was pretty keen. Jennie, why don't you take us out?
Absolutely. Well, Pat, first of all, we want to thank you for your time, your expertise, and your willingness to share with not only the three of us who are here listening to you, but our audience as well. We really appreciate that opportunity to learn more about how we can better connect with people 365 days a year. So we thank you for that. For our listener, make sure you go check out our show notes if you want to get in touch with Pat. We are going to have his LinkedIn connection as well as the website link directly, so you can go check out Connect365 to learn more about it and see if it is a good fit for you. Also, make sure that you connect with the Bad Girls on Business at badgirlsonbusiness.com, so that way you can check out the fun little Easter eggs that we have hidden for you throughout the website and the gifts from each of our hosts. And so stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales Domme, the referral diva, or your mistress in business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.